This is Thomas Frank. And Thomas, thanks so much for spending time with us again. Greatly appreciate it.
Rob, it's my pleasure. I think last time I talked to you, I was in Kansas, wasn't I?
Right.
But now I'm back home in Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay.
I like being home and everything, but I miss Kansas already. I'm already sad. I'm already pining for the plains.
I don't blame you. It's hot as heck, I'm sure, up there. It's hot as heck down here. But
oh yeah, it's like steamy here. It's like Guadalcanal. It's no one realizes this. Washington D.C. would be a kind of like deciduous jungle if we didn't have a city here. I mean, it's so steamy.
I believe it. I've only been there for the tours, Thomas, but I enjoyed it while I was there, the historical sites, but not the cesspool as far as what else is going on there with Trump, whether it's Trump, Obama, Bush, it doesn't matter who it is. It's the same group, just a different time. I want to talk about this, Thomas. A few weeks back, Trump put out that executive order for the $400. The state has to kick in that $100. However, if you're under $100 as far as state employment, you're not getting anything. Plus, it's only going to last for 3 weeks. And that money, Thomas, is coming out of FEMA's budget. You know as well as I do what's been happening. It's still ongoing in California as far as the wildfires. We have 2 hurricanes that just hit Louisiana and Texas back to back. So it's kind of stupid to get that money out of FEMA's budget right now in general.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Did he actually go through with that?
Yeah, there's states that
I thought they decided that was not constitutional or something. I mean, look, the thing is, he's doing so many things like this. He wants to get reelected so badly, and he takes his. What fascinates me about this is how un-Republican it is. The Republicans. This was your traditional party of small government and. And against the welfare state. Oh my God, no, if he could write checks to every American, with his name on it, and charge it to the federal government, he'd do it if he thought that would help him get reelected.
Well, he did that with the 1,200. If I remember,
sure, I think he'll do it again.
Yeah, President Donald Trump on it.
I got a debit card from the federal government. So my stimulus came in the form of a debit card, and it came with a letter that had Trump's signature on it. And in the letter it said, when you've spent all the money on the debit card, it's a gift from Dad, from Daddy Trump. And when you spent all the money on the debit card, don't throw it away because I might put more money on it. Republicans. This is it's unbelievable. It's Nixonian is what it is. It's beyond Nixonian. Nixon was Trump's not hero but political model. There's this story I read this back in 2016 when there were still actual news stories about Trump. Rather than just like the sort of panic that you read every day now. But apparently he went to, at some time in the 80s, went to a house party in like Dallas or something, and Nixon was there. Nixon was at the party, and Trump and Nixon were the only 2 people there who didn't drink or something. And so they somehow became friends, and they sat up all night, Nixon instructing Donald Trump on the ways of the world. I kind of love that image, but Trump came away from that being like, this guy's a genius.
Well, I think of it too, because remember, Roger Stone was Nixon's right-hand man at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything flows.
Yeah, but one of the things Nixon did, you'll recall, is in 1972, Nixon wanted to get reelected, and he did everything in his power, which was considerably more limited, the power of the presidency back then, although Nixon always pushed to expand it. But Nixon did everything in his power to try to goose the economy right before the election, because that's how a president would get reelected, or would, is have the economy roaring. And he came up with all kinds of really ingenious ways of doing that. And Trump is doing the same thing, just much more heavy-handed. And of course, it all fell to pieces here with the coronavirus. If it hadn't been for this, he would be waltzing in to re-election, I think.
I want to talk about this because I know you don't have much time, and I want to get this all in. we see the Black Lives Matter protests, and I want to get to the RNC in a couple of questions because I think that has a lot to do with the Black Lives Matter protesters. But it seems like the Trump supporters, Trump himself, want these protests to keep going on so they can keep running on that Nixonian mantra of that law and order. And it's funny, and I know you probably saw this because you always got your head in the news. Trump was out the other day saying, oh, if Biden gets in, this is going to get even worse. But he's the president now. He started all this stuff.
I know. Well, he didn't start it, but he hasn't done anything to. He is president. He's of course, he's fanned the flames. Now, also though, if you pay, I mean, I don't. There's no reason being fair to Donald Trump, but let's be fair to Donald Trump. He does, in his speeches, he does deplore the police killing these people. Like he does say it's awful what happened to George Floyd. And he does say things, like it's terrible the police shot this guy in Kenosha. But what you see today, he compared it to like screwing up in a golf game. It's like, what? It's like he can't get it right. He can't get, it's funny. He will do anything to get reelected, but he can't figure out these like sort of really simple things that he needs to say to convince Americans that he's really human. But yeah, he is running on the law and order thing. My prediction, Rob, is that he will do two things simultaneously. One is run as the law and order candidate, which is, as you mentioned, amusing because he's already president in this, and there's these riots all over the place, and he hasn't done anything about it or done very, very little. But he will also, so he will accuse Biden of being weak on crime, right? He'll accuse Biden of being soft on crime. At the same time, he will also run against Biden as the mastermind of mass incarceration. In fact, they said this at the Republican convention. And these two things are contradictory, and my prediction is that won't matter. that will not stop Trump from saying both of them at the same time. I'm surprised he hasn't said them both in the same speech,
But I'm worried about a race war now. If he stays, if he does win the presidency, which is up in the air, I really believe he's got an amazing shot right now. We're looking at the polls right now, and Clinton was doing better at this time in 2016 than Biden is doing right now.
Okay. Fair enough. But Rob, now just in my role as the guy who trying to counsel you away from panic, the pollsters screwed up in 2016 really badly. And they know it, and they've supposedly taken steps to remedy that. Okay. Right. Again, if it wasn't for the pandemic, he would be winning easily. But I don't want to be too much of the voice of reason. He could easily win. It could happen. Okay. All it would take is Biden screwing something up really bad. Riots continue. Look, he may already have got Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of these states that he just barely won last time, just barely, and was always a very liberal state, all my life and on all my parents' lives. And Trump won it. It still blows my mind. And he may have just got it again. But look, I don't want to be too negative about this. I think Biden can pull this thing off if he's not too much of a fool. So anyhow,
but are you afraid of a race?
And I'm not afraid of a race war. No, I'm not afraid of that.
Okay,
I'm not afraid of that. That is there are troublemakers here and there, but you and I both know enough humans and enough Americans to realize that's not who we are as a people.
It's not who we are, but there's people like the Proud Boys and these other Trump supporters that are drumming this stuff up, and they lead with what Trump says, and they hear all these dog whistles and all these code words.
Yeah, those guys are bad news. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Those guys are scary, but a race war implies that we're all somehow involved and we're all fighting with each other. That's never going to happen. I mean, you're going to have riots here and there, and you have bad actors here and there. I thought the Proud Boys got broken up like a year ago or something.
I don't. They're still around apparently. I was watching.
I thought like they got a RICO action against them or something.
Well, did you see that they were in Kenosha, Wisconsin? They had it was a couple of Trump groups that were out there with the paintball guns shooting
I saw
at the
that. I saw that. No, that was in Portland. I saw
them.
that video. Yeah, crazy stuff. There is that element in America that always has been, and what can I say? These people are always with us.
So I do want to.
It's extraordinary to me that he empowers them, that he doesn't see the danger of these people. These are the people that blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City. Real bad news.
So why do you feel like a lot of these people that Trump's been in office for 4 years, all the stuff that he said about bringing the jobs back, about he was going to get rid of NAFTA. All he did was bring another trade deal, and he tinkered with the NAFTA. He didn't do anything. But why do you feel like these people are not seeing the light and say Trump is not? Biden's a joke. He's a fraud too. But Trump is an egomaniac. He's a con artist. He's a used car salesman. But people, it seems like, are not even seeing that. And they're going to vote for him again just because Biden is so bad. That's what I'm worried about. So why do you feel like people are doing that?
That's the $1 million question, Rob.
Right.
I've thought about this a lot. There's many different answers. The problem that I keep going back to is the larger political one of you have a two-party system where you don't have a party of the left. You have a party of the right that's willing to say anything. It's extremely cynical, like Donald Trump's Republicans. They will say anything, claim that they're standing up. You're always watching a documentary about financial deregulation last night, because that's how I pass my time, Rob. I watched documentaries about deregulation of financial systems, right? And it had footage of Trump where in 2016 where he was going to stand up to Wall Street and he was going to go after these big financial corporations. It's a joke, right? But he does say it, and Hillary Clinton would not say it, and Joe Biden will not say it. And so there's this larger problem of not having a genuine party of the left. And there's this other problem of average Americans, the sort of Fox News syndrome, but there's also something real about it. Average Americans hate and fear political correctness.
Yeah.
They hate and look, there's a kind of liberalism that that most people in this country really like. And that's the kind of liberalism that's going to give you, a good pension and universal health care and going to, let you, have a say in the conditions of your employment, that's going to regulate Wall Street and make sure you don't have a financial collapse. People like that liberalism. People hate and fear the liberalism that calls them names and that scolds them and that tells them that they're bad people. And that's the kind of liberalism that is all around us today. Why is that? Because that's who's taken over the Democratic Party. I don't mean Biden here. Biden is a nice guy. But I mean, I live here in, a nice suburb of Washington, D.C., and that's the kind of people I live around. They live to scold. Yeah. That's their politics. Their politics is telling working class people how stupid they are. And that's not very popular. People hate that. Can I curse on this?
Yeah.
People hate that shit.
Well, it's like Hillary with the deplorables, which she's
exactly. And now Hillary knew better than to say that, but that struck a nerve because there's this incredible sensitivity that working class people have to being looked down upon, and they feel like liberalism does that to them. So it's not that people hate like the legacy of Franklin Roosevelt; they love that stuff, but they hate liberals, the people. This sort of censorious upper class, snob who's telling you how to behave. People hate that shit. And it's like, that's toxic shit. And Trump stands up to that, or at least he seems like he stands up to that. I mean, and I hate to say it. It's like, there is this sense in which we are descending into this fight with ourselves. It's not a race war, but it is this kind of social media writ large where we all think we're on Twitter all the time yelling at each other. I was watching those videotapes of protesters and Trump supporters in Portland, and these people would get in arguments on the street, and it's like they thought they were on Twitter or Facebook and they had to get the last word on each other, and it's like that's how we behave nowadays. That is toxic. That is sick. And I don't know where it ends, because you don't have I mean, you have Joe Biden. He's a genuinely nice man, but it's going to take more than niceness. Maybe after he gets elected, he'll turn out to be a real Franklin Roosevelt, like Bernie Sanders has said. I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count on it. I would like that to be the case.
I disagree. I don't think Joe Biden's going to do that. We already heard that he did a campaign rally in Pittsburgh yesterday. Said, "Oh, don't say that I'm not against fracking. I want to keep fracking." And we keep,
he doesn't want to take a stand on anything,
Yeah, for him to have
he's
against
against violence, and he's against murder, right? That's great. But I don't know. I mean, I was watching the Republican convention. If it was not for this pandemic, Trump would be goddamned hard to beat. Even though he's been utterly incompetent as president, and his dwindling number of people in Washington that'll work for him. Anyhow.
But the thing is, Thomas, when you wrote "Listen, Liberal," and also writing "The People Know," these are things that are touching our society right now, and I want to kick that around with the next question. It seems like those books are just like everything that's going on right now. Do you agree with that? And can you see?
Well, of course I do. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. You are so completely and totally correct.
This is like comedy hour.
No, that is a high compliment. They're both of them are books about history, about the past, but you can't understand the present unless you understand the past. I mean, our choices were made for us in a certain sense already in the past, and Americans have grappled with not exactly the same things that we're going through now, but similar situations, and we've solved them in the past. And there is no solution on the horizon right now. I hate to say it. Yeah. We have to have it, but there's nothing coming. The Democratic Party succeeded in putting down the Sanders movement, and they stopped Elizabeth Warren, who I think would have been an excellent president. Well, they didn't. She just didn't go anywhere. Her campaign didn't take off. It's a shame. And instead we got Biden, and that stinks. But we need a Roosevelt. We need a Kennedy. We need a Hubert Humphrey. Even would be pretty goddamn good in this situation that we're in. Hell, a Jimmy Carter would be really awesome. I'd like to see that. But we're not going to get any of those things.
Well, we talk about this, and I know you talk about Listen, Liberal, of how the Democrats changed from FDR type of party, and it seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you obviously wrote the book, it seems like the Democrats changed after 1972 with that loss with George McGovern and how he got shellacked in that. And And I wasn't really alive back then, we'll be honest. I was born in 1989. But from what I
my God.
From what
I was in graduate school. I was in graduate school by then.
From what I can read about that election, it's that there was issue with the VP candidate from George McGovern, and that's really sacked
you don't want to get into the weeds on it. They made the Democratic Party. I was 7 that year. I think we didn't have a color TV yet. I think we got one the next year. I watched Nixon resign on a color TV, 74. But 72, everybody thought McGovern was this terrible thing. But McGovern was, it was actually slightly before that the Democratic Party, it was between 68 when they just barely lost with Hubert Humphrey, and 72 when they lost in this overwhelming debacle. In between those 4 years, the Democratic Party decided that it wanted to change direction as a party, and they didn't want to be the sort of what they did is they removed organized labor from their sort of positions in the in the party structure, and more or less said, we're not going to be the party of the working class anymore. We don't want to be that kind of Democratic Party. And I don't want to be too hard on them. I'm pretty hard on them in Listen Liberal for making this decision. But when they did it, they could not see what was coming. They could not see what was, that once the whole question of Listen Liberal, and in fact, the whole question of my career really is, what does it look like when you have a two-party system and the party of the left decides it doesn't want to be a party of the left anymore? And by the way, and the party of the right has, has become this, has moved way off to the right, is like way to the right of public opinion on all these different issues. And the party of the left is like, gives up on the traditional, what left parties do. And that's the situation that we're in. And that is that begins in between 68 and 72 when the Democratic Party makes that decision. And it gets worse and worse and worse. McGovern is a kind of early harbinger of the disasters that lay ahead. He was not a bad man, George McGovern.
He was a war hero, wasn't he?
Yeah, in World War II. Yeah, he was. That, they never talked about that in 72. He wanted to downplay that because we were in Vietnam and that sort of thing. But he had been flown a B-17. Is he still alive, McGovern?
He died. I actually met him in Key West at the Truman home down there. Oh. Yeah, I threw in my advisor, but yeah, he seemed like a good guy. He was a war hero.
He was a great man,
and he was a progressive. But I guess it was a big debacle.
A huge debacle. They had picked this fight with organized labor. Labor wouldn't endorse him. I mean, it was so screwy, and it got worse and worse. And Bill Clinton finally, basically, changes the nature of the Democratic Party. He makes this big outreach to Wall Street. When I was a kid, the Democratic Party was A, the party of working people, and B, the party that would regulate Wall Street. Everybody knew that. That's who they were. Franklin Roosevelt, he broke up the banks. This is what the Democratic Party was. And here comes Bill Clinton, and he's like, no, we're going to deregulate Wall Street. We're going to, bring these guys in and have them run the administration. We're going to do these extraordinary favors for these guys. We're going to completely change sides. And they did it. And so instead they're liberal in a different sense. They're liberal in this, you saw the Democratic Convention. They are the party of diversity and of sort of cultural liberalism. And, that's good, right? I'm in favor of that. I like that.
But there was no substance at the DNC. No policy besides Bernie.
None of the
Bernie
stuff
was the only one that said anything.
Yeah, but there was none of the stuff I'm talking about. Like what are we going to do about the banks? What are we going to do about healthcare? What are we going to do about the middle class? All that's gone. And isn't that amazing? You have a Democratic Party where that's absent from the sort of proposal that they are making to Middle America. They're not talking about that anymore. And I can't believe that they would gamble, in the face of such danger, that they would gamble with a thing like that. The sort of anyhow, they did. That's who they are. And they're the other two messages that you came away from that convention, Joe Biden's a really good guy. And he is, and Trump is a danger and menace to democracy itself, and I think that's correct. By the way, I'm here in DC. I think I told you this last time. Everybody in DC has a Biden story. Everybody has met him, and everybody here loves the man. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, they love this guy. So my feeling is that the District of Columbia is going to go for Biden this year.
I mean, I think that was in the bag about 20 years ago, but okay.
Yeah.
But my thing is with, with the DNC, like we talked about that, there was, the only person that did a speech where there was some sort of policy was Bernie, or at least he talked about policy proposals. I didn't hear Biden talk about any kind of policy proposal. I did like what they did with the COVID-19, where they brought out a lot of stories. I thought that was important.
Oh no, that was great. But they're running on it's like we're in favor of healthiness. And it's like everybody's in favor. Trump had Trump is like, yeah, I'm in favor of that too. And he just blames China for it. It's not my fault. I've never seen that. A political campaign is like, we're in favor of, or we're against disease.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked, Thomas, about third parties and how they've really never taken off in this country, not for a long time. We just saw the People's Convention on Sunday. Nina Turner talked, Cornel West.
Yeah, isn't she great? Those are two of my heroes.
So with that said, Thomas, do you think that this is just something with Bernie supporters and progressives that they just want their voice to be heard? Is this something that's legit? We hear Jesse Ventura might try to get on the ballot. I mean, it's kind of late, but what do you think about all this People's Party, People's Convention?
I think this is the wrong year for it, but you have to be building. if they want to do a third-party effort. Look, so what we know about third-party efforts, there hasn't been a successful nationwide one since the 1890s. You've had a lot of state-level ones, like Wisconsin had the Progressives, Minnesota had the Farmer Labor Party, and you have had people run for president, you know, like not vanity campaigns, but Ralph Nader ran, who's the billionaire, Ross Perot ran, and you know, you'll see things like that. People running just for president, and there is no party aside from the presidential campaign. A real third party that builds from the grassroots up is extremely difficult to do. It would be a good thing to have. The main thing you have to realize is it's very hard to go into that, because what would success look like? Success is when one of the two major parties comes over and adopts your program and steals all your issues, and you're out of business, but your issues live on. That's success. Okay. That's not much to go on. You know, nobody wants, you work your ass off and you build and build and build. And then that's what happens. You know, the Democrats come over and swipe your stuff. But, if you want to, you know, change the country, that is a good way to do it. It's a way to, you know, why not try it? What the hell? Why not? And there are some states where it might actually work. You know, New York State, Illinois, there's a couple, you know, Wisconsin, there's a lot of places where it might actually work, but not this go round. They're starting way too late. I think this is a convention to propose. I didn't watch it, but I keep saying, you know, I don't have time. I keep saying I'll go back and watch the speeches, but you know, it's good to be thinking about this, and it's good to be planning this.
I agree 100%, but I honestly, the ballot access thing I'm worried about, because you talk about New York,
tough.
It's extremely hard. Cuomo is not going to let you on the ballot.
Well, they have New York is the one state. New York is one state where you would be able to do. They have the Working Families Party there, so I assume they would somehow merge with those guys or something like that. There's a couple other states like that where there are viable third parties, but anyhow. We're gonna find out. There's a lot of impediments to it.
With the last three questions, again, Thomas Frank, and definitely check out Listen Liberal. The people know his new book out, and we'll show that at the end. With the last three,
I'm going to show it right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's right behind you. I'll show it right now too.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. So with the last three questions, you know, like we talked about at the DNC, there was not a lot of progressives showing up besides Bernie Sanders, who made an 8-minute speech. AOC it was like 1 minute and 10 seconds where she basically introduced Bernie. It wasn't any kind of substantive speech. And you saw Republican after Republican going up saying that they were for Joe Biden. It's nice that he has, you know, moderate Republicans support. But my thing is, Thomas, it seems like the same campaign that Hillary Clinton ran in 2016. You got the moderate Republicans, which Joe Biden's going after, and it's a total joke. So, and they're quoting the rich suburbanites. So how do you win? How do you win?
Well, okay, the factor that's different is Biden himself. So, but he's a different kind of person than Hillary was. He's not anywhere near as hated. And your sort of Rush Limbaugh types have been working on Hillary for 20 years. You know, she was one of the most hated people in American politics. Biden is not. So there's that. That's a huge plus for him. And the other thing is that they also assume that a lot of the unions, a lot of the working class stuff, he's already got that in the bag, because those people really like him. Some of the unions.
Yeah, but what's going to happen when Trump goes on the debate stage and stops hitting with NAFTA, TPP, all this stuff that he was been pushing or voting for?
I know. Look, he does.
He's going to do it.
Huge weaknesses. Of course he is. He has huge weaknesses, and Trump is, if nothing else, extremely cynical about these things, and he will zero in on those weaknesses, and he'll come after Biden. He's got to win. He's got to do it. He's a deeply flawed candidate, but he's got to win. By the way, I was kind of, you know what I thought was amusing was, did you see the thing where Ice Cube, the rapper, went on Instagram or something? He said, and he just, I love the way he talks. He's just like so plain spoken about it. He's just like this absolutely, you know, looking at this thing in the most, just completely flat. And he says, okay, so you're promising you're gonna get rid of Trump. Okay, you get that on day one. What are you going to do on day two? What else are you going to do? Why should I vote for you? What about the rest of your 4 years? What are you going to do? And he just said this tone of just like, frustration and annoyance.
Yeah. No, I watched it. It's true though. It's and that's what they say with black people in general. They tell them, they say, you got to go and vote for Joe Biden. You got to go and vote for Hillary Clinton. But then every 4 years, it's the same thing,
like,
and
what are you
don't do? Get anything. But it's not just for black people; it's for workers in general.
It's for everybody. Yeah. There's. I think all of us are looking at Biden and saying, just being against Trump is not enough, because as like the man said, Trump will be gone on day one. What do you do for the rest of the 4 years? You fight another war? What are you going to do? You're just going to sit back and have status quo ante? Well, that is what he said. Nothing. We're just going to go back to Obama. Nothing's going to change.
Well, I want to end with these last two questions. What's going to happen if Biden loses?
I don't know. I don't know if we can get any crazier. I assume we can.
Yeah,
if Biden loses, it just, I can't stand Trump, but I also can't stand the political environment that we're in. I can't stand the anti-Trump stuff either. And between the two of them, it's going to be 4 years of really unpleasant commentary and newspapering and journalism and all that stuff in this country. Biden can't lose. He just can't do it. But you're absolutely right. He might. I mean, it might be time to start thinking through what happens when I've spent all my time thinking through what happens when he wins. Because, that's not exactly a great scenario either. But what happens if he loses? Oh my God.
But do you see progressives stepping up if he does win and really hitting him where it hurts? Or are they going to fall asleep
holding his feet to the fire? They will try. That, I don't see as how they have a whole lot of power in DC unless he gives it to them. They can do their best, but the mass media of this country and the Democratic Party itself are organized to suppress and ignore progressive voices. So I'm not super excited about that and enthusiastic about that happening. Now, it may turn out, as we said at the beginning of the show, that Biden is actually an FDR in disguise, and he'll be a wonderful president. Just don't hold your breath, Rob. Don't hold your fiery breath, Rob.
All right. So let's give the viewers hope at the end. There is so much economic despair right now. There's people that are going to go homeless if they already haven't. We're getting crushed by China right now. We're seeing the country move into a fascism right now if it's not already there. What kind of hope can you give to the viewers that are listening to this, to saying, hey, there could be a better day around the corner?
I got to go, Rob. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. See you later.
The hopeful thing is just this. These movements can catch on and come out of nowhere and sweep over the country in a very short amount of time, and then we will win. And there'll be no inkling of it, a couple of years. And then all of a sudden it'll happen. Come on, Rob, cut it out. I don't. You put me in a really bad mood. I don't got anything.
Hey,
we
were rolling through this pretty fast.
I tell you what. I'll come up with something hopeful and I'll call you. Okay. And I'll say, Rob, I got it. Here's the avenue for hope. We're going to thread the needle. And if this,
I thought you were going to go into your Barack Obama voice and start giving us the hope and change that we need in this country.
Yeah, like Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg. All right, I'll let you roll. Hey, let's do this down the road after the debates then. Right before the election.
If there are debates, I think Biden might not.
Yeah, Nancy
might not
Pelosi
do it.
wants to cancel it.
And we're going to see.
All right, Thomas. I'll catch you later. Thanks a lot.
All right. So long.
Right,